Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. We welcome you all back to our program. Also, tuning in to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could join us for this one as well. Have a great guest that's coming up for you guys in this segment. Hollywood manager and publicist Ramon Hervey II is with us. We're going to talk to him about his brand new book called The Fame Game, an insider's playbook for earning your 15 minutes. We're going to talk to him not only about what fame is and what it's been like for him to share that with others, but also the lessons he's been able to learn and share from those he's worked with as well. Mr. Hervey, so glad to have you back with us. Thanks for the time.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you, Cyrus.
So I wanted to focus on a very particular part of the book in this conversation with you, Mr. Hervey, and that is the idea of fame itself, because we hear that word thrown around so much, fame, being famous. What has that been like for you to be able to talk to especially young people about the idea of what fame is?
Well, I'm not out there preaching about it, to be honest, but my in the book I explain my philosophy on it. And again, I think my sense of fame is it's not a destination, it's an accolade. So in order to become famous, you have to become successful first. And, you know, if you look through the history of the words, they are two different things. Fame is a sense of entitlement that you get when you're successful. And, you know, it can be very destructive. It can be very influential. It really depends on how you treat it, how you respect it, how you honor it. But it's also very fleeting, and most people aren't going to be famous throughout their whole life, whether they get 15 minutes or not. So I think you have to be grounded and have a sense of what do you do with your life when you're not famous. What do you fall back on, because it's not going to sustain itself. And so I think those are the lessons that I think young people have to understand is when you invest in the idea of becoming famous, what are you really investing in? Are you investing in yourself? Are you investing in the idea that you want to be entitled and you think that if you become famous, you're going to get all this money and people are going to be kowtowing to you and doing everything? It really depends on your mentality and what you hope to achieve, I think, from being famous. And the other thing that I talk about in the book, as you know, is that there's no one path to fame. So what works for one person is definitely not going to work for the next person. And from my experience of 4 decades in the business, every path of fame that all my clients have taken, it's been different. And you have to adjust to, you know, what works best for you. You have to find out what path works best for you.
Right. And I think a great example of that, Mr. Hervey, in the book is your working with Babyface. I'm going to actually read more from that chapter in a bit, but I want to go to chapter 12 of the book. And the reason why I asked you that question, in chapter 12 you give what you call the tenets of fame, and you start the chapter off by saying there's no proven formula for acquiring fame. Each person's journey is different. I follow an old-school precept and a more traditional tenet that fame should be viewed as a reward. It's an honor bestowed on exceptionally talented individuals who are passionate about their art form or profession and have struggled and prepared themselves for years to forge a legitimate and successful career. I want our audience to hear that part, because I think a lot of times, as we talked about before, Mr. Hervey, some people want to be famous just to be famous, but it really is, as you talk about there, something for those who have truly worked for it. And I think, of course, when people think about work ethic, Babyface definitely comes to mind. What was it like for you to kind of reflect on your journey with him and his own relationship with fame, as you talk about?
Well, Kenny, I never called him Babyface, but his real name is Kenneth Edmonds, and Babyface is in the middle. But Kenny is, I have a great, utmost respect for Kenny. We became really good friends when I worked with him. I spent a lot of time with him, and we had a great partnership and collaboration. And, he had a really great work ethic. He was more critical of his self than probably any other artist that I can think of. I mean, one of his songs, of his voice. I mean, a lot of times he would give me songs, play songs for me that I thought were hits, and then he'd tell me, I don't like my voice on this song, but I'm going to give it to somebody else. I go, Kenny, why? You sound great. He goes, no, it's not really. It's not really for me. I can't do to the song what I think it needs. Because he knew what his limitations were vocally, and he wanted, some of the songs he got attached to the songs, and he felt other voices would bring that song to life better than he could, which is very rare for artists, to have that kind of insight on their own, putting themselves in check in terms of what their potential is. So that was one thing that I really respected about him. We spent 10 weeks rehearsing for his first major concert tour, and he was very, so everything had to be perfect. 10 weeks is a really long time to rehearse for tours, and it's at least an extra 10 weeks, particularly for a first-time tour. So he was very diligent, and, he was involved in every aspect of the process. He learned how to dance, basically. We had a choreographer that he learned dance steps, so he was balancing going to the dance studio and then working with the band, and so that the show would have cohesiveness. I mean, he was always there when you needed him. He put in all the extra time, and the biggest song that he ever recorded, he played for me. When I first met Kenny, he lived in Atlanta, and he played me. We were listening to songs that he was going to do on his album. It was called For the Cooling You, and he was almost done with the album. And he said, I'm thinking about adding one more song, but I don't know if it's the right fit. And I said, well, why don't you play it for me? He goes, well, I haven't recorded it yet, so I'm going to play it for you on guitar, acoustic guitar. So I was at his apartment in Atlanta. He sat on the couch, played this song. The song was called When Can I See You Again? That song is the biggest song of his career. And when I heard it, I immediately said, wow, you got to put that on the record. Because he had been successful as a songwriter-producer, and he had had some success as an artist. He was the quiet guy. Whenever you saw him in L.A. together, it was always L.A. doing the talking. And I didn't even know he played guitar. So I said, this could be such a huge song, one, so people could see that you're really an artist, and this kind of song is just, I think it's going to be a smash. And it was. And, he kept it very, musically, he didn't put a lot of production on it. It was very, almost sounded acoustic, and that was a great song. But that's another thing where he didn't think that would work, and then it ended up being his biggest song ever. So.
Such a great example. Our audience can find that account more about Kenny in the chapter 9. Fame is not a destination; it's an accolade. Again, everyone, Mr. Ramon Hervey II is our guest. The Fame Game is his book. You guys have to pick up this book. Such a great account, I think, of not only part of his journey, but also those he's worked with. An insider's playbook for earning your 15 minutes. It's available through our friends at Amazon.com or through your favorite local bookstore. Mr. Hervey, really appreciate you stopping back by. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you. It's always nice to talk to you, and I appreciate the support. Thank you so much.
Hey, glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. But let's go make today amazing. Take care.